That should be something that everyone's thinking about. If the other team sees you and is shooting at you, that should be happening intentionally on your terms. Like, but if you don't want to be seen, if you're trying to sneak up on them, you should be managing these sight lines, hugging walls, sneaking up, this kind of stuff. But if you just like play out in the open like this and you expect that you're going to be able to just like go from here and then charge into their face, you're probably going to get blasted. You know what I mean? So just be aware of that kind of stuff. Let's talk about Pocket Soldier on this mid. So usually, just to talk about the rollout again, usually I'm going to be rolling out, and then I personally like to pick up this small health pack just so I'm, extra healthy. Catch my arrow, get crit healed, avoid the sticky. A lot of times I'll jump through there just to, avoid any future spam. This is a really strong spot just to start out in. You should be aware of like certain spam angles, like for example, hitting a rocket there, that could potentially do 30 to a scout. Sometimes I'll splash like that corner right there, because sometimes you'll hit like the medic or demo as they're crossing here. You can spam back to there. You can hit that slope or the roof. Otherwise, a lot of times I'll just kind of sit here and spam. And if you're in this position, this is a good position for like a slow mid. Because if their soldiers bomb and land anywhere near your saw, you will absolutely destroy them. It's an easy 2-rocket kill for you. The thing that synergizes the best with this playstyle, though, is your medic needs to play near you. Because your medic is going to bait them towards you. Because if your med goes to lower to kite their bomb, these rockets are way harder to hit and they're going to do a lot less damage. So if you are going to park a soldier over here just to kill their bombers, your med needs to be near saw to bait that in towards this door. And of course, putting a little more heals in your soldier as needed. But your soldier here is basically trying to minimize their damage taken. That's kind of one of the theories on soldier in general is like, you're not as valuable to get healed as your scouts and demo. So what you want to do is try and minimize the amount of healing that you need. And what that entails is either you play extremely passive, so you take very little damage, or you go deep. That way you're never like in the mid-range. You're on the extremes. That's how soldier operates. You're more on the extremes. You're either all out or you're all in. Because if you're just in the mid-range, getting blasted, like up here, you'll do like 40 damage with that rocket, but you're going to take 150. And then you're going to need to get arrowed. And you're just a burden on your team. So try to be very mindful of your health and how you manage that. And so that can be done by hiding and being passive, or being in like mega deep. Because when you're in mega deep, you can't be healed. You're living off health packs, and you're having impact by pulling them back and getting kills. Back here, you're not being a burden on your team. That's essentially it. Imagine you're here as well. Like, this is a strong scout spot. You can stand your ground, but if you're here as a soldier, you're just getting bullied out. You're losing that fight. So just be very careful about being in those spots. And if you're ever there and you start drawing attention, you're usually going to want to be counter jumping, so that you minimize your damage taken. So, yeah. So you can use a spot like this if this is a passive mid, if you're just sort of waiting for a timing. One spot that I really like as pocket is to go into the enemy kitchen, because this is another fairly safe and independent spot, but it can be a big like threat. It can draw a lot of attention. You can hit some rockets on their med and demo. You can threaten going behind. You can potentially catch an arrow still from here, like from this sight line. And if you need to jump back, it's not too hard to get back to your own saw. So I personally quite like going in the kitchen. Sometimes I'll come to mid, and that's like my first jump, is I'll come to kitchen, I'll put like a rocket on the demo and just read the fight from there. Just be aware that if you ever go in kitchen, sometimes they will roll out people in here to kill you, or they'll try to pounce on you. So you want to use that, carefully. Don't overuse it, because you can isolate yourself there and die. What else can you do on this mid as pocket? You can do like early fade bombs, like high bombs like this. That kind of stuff is going to stall the enemy team out quite a lot. So if you ever are playing a slow mid, you may want to consider just weaving in like an early fade, just so your team isn't too passive and just getting rolled over by the enemy team. That's something I've been doing a lot lately on Pocket, is just, if we're going to play a slow mid, I'll just insert a fade. I think that that's an important habit just in general, is like, you don't want to just stand still on passive mids. Because a fade bomb is just going to stall the enemy team. It's going to bait people forward. It's going to be a way to be somewhat impactful without just standing still and praying that you hit spam and that they feed into you. Because that playstyle can result in the other team just like taking space for free and collapsing on you. So a fade, when you can be decent. And the definition of a fade, you know, it can be stretched a little bit. Like, being up here and having them look at you could be a fade in terms of like distraction. It's achieving the same thing. You know, jumping into their kitchen and then jumping back could be considered like a fade of sorts. Essentially, it's just like you're not committing and dying. But you know, if you just want to go for, you know, a good old high bomb fade, that's perfectly good too. I guess the thing in general for soldiers is like, if you're sitting in these spots waiting for arrows, just consider whether or not you could have jumped back and gotten a health pack instead, and then come back in with crit heals or with, you know, getting an arrow from here, just so you're not giving them the opportunity to pick you, and so that you're not depriving other people from beam and arrows. So this is a big mid where a bad habit, in my opinion, a lot of soldiers have, is that they're just catching way too many fucking arrows sitting in these like useless positions. So if you find that that's happening a lot, get these health packs more often. Yeah. And so another option on the mid is to go deep, obviously. I really like a low bomb from the right here. It pairs really well with a high bomb from your roamer. So this is a bomb that you should practice, is sort of how to low bomb through here. Because it's going to be, especially if they have a scout up on this roof, a lot of times he won't see you coming because of just the sight line to this lane. So you could just go right underneath him and get right in their face. And that's a really good, you know, medic and demo killer to do this low bomb. It can be dangerous sometimes to try to high bomb from down here if there's like a scout up here, because he can stuff you sometimes. So just be aware of that. But that is another option, is that you can just high bomb off this. One thing I don't particularly like about it, and it can be a little dangerous, is, yeah, just this whole approach. Like, you can be getting shot this whole way up, so just be careful about that. One thing that's very important on this mid, if you are doing like a double bomb, is try to mix up your soldiers' landing positions. If they're both landing right here in Saw, they're gonna just cannibalize each other, because there's one health pack. They all can just get one rocketed basically right here. So spreading out your landing positions might be a good idea, or like staggering your bomb, where like one of your soldiers does land behind them, but then the other one bombs to shoot the people that are shooting your soldier here, right? So you can do things like that. Or, you know, you split up. You have one soldier land on their cat, one soldier lower, one soldier land saw. Like, just split up your landing positions, um, so that it's not too easy for them to find you. One of the worst mids that I've ever seen, there was an invite team that did this, is they would have both soldiers roll out catwalk, and they would both like high bomb fade. One principle that you guys really want to try to implement with your soldier bombs is like, you don't want them to be able to just see both your soldiers at the same time and like track both of them. Because I just see both soldiers high bomb fade like that, I know where both of them are. I know that they're both weak, and I'm just going to go forward. So if you are going to be bombing two soldiers, you really want to try to split up the angles, you know? So that's why a high bomb here and a low bomb there works perfectly. Because how are they going to watch and deny both of these? It's going to be impossible. You know, you could do a high bomb there and a high bomb there. You know, you could do a bomb out of kitchen. You could do all kinds of different angles, but just think about this from like their combo scout's perspective and try to make it as hard as possible for him to get you. You could have a skip jump off the roof and a high bomb left. You know, that could work. Just anything where you're not just both in the exact same pixel in the air and both landing in the exact same spot. So that's something that your soldiers are going to want to sort of discuss. And usually my preference is like, one person decides what they want to do, and then the other person comes up with sort of a complementary angle that they can bomb off of. So say my roamer's like, you know, I just want to skip jump and land in their saw, then my pocket is going to need to think, okay, how can I go complementary to that? they're going to skip jump off this angle straight into their saw. I'm going to go up there, you know, something up and to the opposite side. And I probably want to go first, so because that's like a hard commit. I want to be a distraction so that they are staring at me. So what I might do if my soldier's going to do like a hard commit skip jump off there, I might jump up here and jump again like that so that they're looking at me. And I'm like really showing myself as vulnerable by landing first. So they're like, oh, we can kill this guy. And then my soldier skip jumps in. It's like extra selling that distraction. So those are things to think about with bombs on this map. An underrated bomb that I'll just throw out there for your soldiers. If they're retreating out of saw, rather than chasing them like this, and they just retreat, the strongest way to chase into saw is right through catwalk, because you're immediately shooting their exit. So a lot of times you're going to catch people as they're like moving back like this, and you're going to just blast them right here. So that's like a big tip for the chase, especially in the post mid. A lot of teams will like linger kind of near saw, and if you just cut off their exit right there, they're going to start panicking, or they're not even going to see you, and you're just going to blast them in the back. All right. Let's talk about roamer a little bit on this mid. So as mentioned, your health is, you know, something important on the rollout. If you need to, you know, do that little extra to just delay here and get the buff, it's honestly worth it. Because the difference between being here with like 260 and bombing and 180, you know, because you get chip shot a little bit and then bombing, that's a big difference. That's a whole like meat shot that you can survive. So that's an extra rocket you're getting off. You know, that's an extra jump or two you can do. So it's worth it to be very aware of your health. There's some decent early spam from this angle. You can hit demos that get aggro near the crate on the opposite side. This is good spam. You can shoot their catwalk. You know, you can sometimes hit like multiple rockets on this. One thing to be aware of is, you know, they're going to be spamming you as well, so you may want to dodge that. Wrap assassin spam is common here, so try to dodge that. But and a lot of times you're just going to sit here and you can actually get crit heals as well. So if you ever notice that like you're just not taking damage and you guys are playing a slow mid, you can sort of tuck yourself over here and your med can crit heal you, and then you can have, you know, even better health for your bomb. So as for what bombs you can do, you know, obviously you can just high bomb off this. This can be a strong angle for, you know, distraction, potentially to commit anywhere on the mid. But this scout on the roof is going to see you coming, so you just need to be aware of that. So one of the worst things that you can do is the scout sees you coming, and you just like skip jump like this, and he's just going to instantly meat shot you. So if you are going to skip jump off the roof, you kind of want to avoid going towards the right most of the time, unless they're not on height because your demo is like controlling them, or you know they fell off. That's like an instant death. But if you skip jump like away from him and like towards saw, you'll usually have a better chance of surviving there with that bomb. So just keep that in mind. On the rooftop, you know, it can be very dangerous because, again, they're going to be seeing you from that angle. So you're going to be getting crossfired from here. There's usually going to be another scout there, and there might be stickies coming up. So just be very, very careful about how often you like come to the forward edge right here. If you're well buffed and, you know, you're being methodical, you can come up here and put some rockets down, but it's a pretty dangerous spot to be. So a lot of times I'm not really wanting to be anywhere past this corner. You may like send some spam there, but I find you to be kind of a sitting duck, honestly, a lot of times up there. So just be aware of that. Maybe, you know, you could play here and sort of like bait the corner, or you can like counter jump people on the roof. Something like that could work. But yeah, I've never really been a big fan of my soldiers just sitting here getting like spammed. So let me throw out some other like interesting options to consider. You can low bomb from the left lane. So you could like jump from here and then jump again like that. Anytime you're doing something on the left lane, it's important that your demo is really focusing people off the shed, because those are going to be the people that are going to deny you. But if your demo keeps them off the shed, like this left lane is an amazing like area to get in deep, because they're not going to see you coming. A lot of times their med and demo are going to be like right here. So that's just a bomb like right into them and they won't even see you. You can also do kitchen like lurk plays. One thing to be aware of is this sightline right here. So if you like come into kitchen and you try to like walk over here, they can see you. So if you really want to be sneaky coming into kitchen, walk down here and then jump up. And you can just sit here, especially if they're sending people like in your kitchen. Sometimes you can just be patient and shoot people in the back in this lane or as they try to come in kitchen. And that can be a free pick for you. Or you can just, you know, get ready to bomb and then you come in through kitchen and bomb from there. And that can be pretty strong. Let's see what else for roamer. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most of it. Besides like what I mentioned with like the ability to sort of high bomb and then curve to shoot the demo in the back or shoot people that are pushing forward. I think that's a powerful strat that you shouldn't like overlook. A lot of soldiers, they just by default, they're always like landing near saw and they're just insta-giving for that and not necessarily getting any kills. So just sort of broadening your mindset and your approach for how you can go to the mid and have value, I think is important. I guess regarding like going behind and stuff, if you do go behind into the enemy saw and they don't see you, like it's a god tier spot to just shoot people in the back and, you know, play this corner. But if they are chasing you, you can just like jump away and, you know, live behind them. Things like this are really good. If you manage to get behind like through their lower, you know, you can go for a long flank to cut them off if they're leaving the mid. You can jump up into window and then have their exit from here. These are all pretty good strats. And so whenever you're behind though, you just really want to make sure the coordination is there so that you guys have the pinch. Yeah. Let's see. Next role. I mean, we talked a little bit about demo, just controlling height, being precise with your stickies. A lot of times on your aggression call, you do want your demo trying to go forward. If they retreat down into lower or out to saw, a lot of times it's just about keeping a carpet of stickies here just to prevent them. If you guys are playing a little bit slower, then your demo is going to just want to try and hold the line here and not let them come in for free. Some really strong demo strats as well, putting like traps on the box or on the shed. Those can get you scout picks or just like carpeting their slope because they'll, especially if you're sending in bombs, a lot of people are going to stop looking at the ground and they're going to waddle onto your own stickies. So that can be pretty good. As for medic, a couple things here for medic. As I mentioned, you know, being careful about the sticky spam here. You can bait out that sticky, let your scout clear it, then get through. As a medic, like the moment you see soldiers in the skybox, that's when a lot of times you want to start retreating. Because if you wait till they start landing, you're going to get caught. So just be very aware of like the skybox. And the moment you see soldiers up, I think it's fine a lot of times to try and bait. But yeah, the most important thing is just to tell your team where you're going to kite. If they bomb you, are you kiting into saw or are you kiting into lower? Having that like established as a default on each mid is going to help your team a lot to know kind of how to assist you and keep you alive. Personally, I find saw to be just a better kiting spot just because it's such a fast retreat compared to slope. I think you have better vision from here as well. You can keep this soldier healthy, etc. There is value, as I mentioned, rolling out catwalk because you can get that extra like 185 onto your scout and 300 on your roamer, and then you can come over, heal your demo, and you could like shift back to this position. So that might be worth doing to avoid early damage and to get extra heals on your more like isolated players. If people are over there, be careful about like sprinting over here to heal them. You really, as a medic, want to be aware of your own positioning and you want to make people come to you. So if someone's like over there and they want heals, like they should be doing what they can to like make it easier for you. You really don't want to be like isolating yourself and ruining your own vision to go sprint towards healing people. And if you can't arrow someone, like don't do it. Meaning like if your scouts are fighting and your demo is fighting, don't stop healing them to like arrow a soldier. That guy can sit there or he can get a pack or something. You want to preserve your front line. Ideally, when your med arrives here, they're going to have a soldier, over here that's going to be covering them, but they need a scout right here. This is how a medic is going to feel the most safe on this mid. There's a scout right there, demo in front of them. If they have that, they're happy. But if there's like no one to heal because your scout's like way over here, isolated, your other scout's way over there, your medic is going to have a rough time and not going to feel very like stable here to stay in. If you are getting bombed constantly and dying, or you're struggling to keep your medic alive, or you guys are just losing people forward and it's just not working, you may want to just play a mid where your med arrives and just holds W and you guys just push the point. As I mentioned, your med could dive in kitchen or whatever. If they're sending people behind, this is also very effective because that guy's going to try and flank and there's going to be no one here to flank because you guys are just holding W. So that can be an adaptation. Just important as well, your med just recognizes if you're losing the fight, just start leaving early. This jump can be a little tricky, so you may want to practice this so that you can hit it consistently. Because if you miss this jump, you may die for it. But it is possible to jump from this up to the exit here, so you might want to practice that. Another good retreat is like through lower, because you're going to break sightlines faster. Whereas if you're just running straight up this bridge, they may see you the whole time and you kind of have to run just like in a straight line to get out. But you can like juke to lower like this, and then from here you can also break this sight line and then like tuck around the corner. Just things like that are something to consider when you're retreating. Okay, so let's talk about now. Well, any questions about the mid fight from any of those perspectives or any situations? No? Okay, so let's say you guys get mid. One important thing to talk about here is just like how to hold mid and how to spot. So I'd say it's very important that people are spotting like into the doorways. The deeper you can spot, the earlier for info, the better. So let's say, we have mid, but they might push mid off of some sort of advantage. Rather than like sitting here, the best thing that you guys can do is have, like a soldier or scout spotting this. And one of the most valuable sight lines is from kitchen. A lot of times I want to scout down here because from here you're very safe. You can see them approaching lower from far away. And a lot of times you can see their beam crossing through here. So you get a really early call on where they're coming from. Another big tip that I can give is for trapping. The best thing your demo can do is if there's ever like a room that the other team might push, try to trap their entrance into the room rather than trapping their exit, because that's just going to hold them further back and it's going to funnel them through like one doorway as opposed to, they have two options to get in through. So you can trap the inside doorway, you should. So if you have a lot of time to set up, you want to try and hold them at that door rather than at the exit. Because if their Uber just gets into saw clean and they never have to like stop to clear traps or get spammed in this door, they're just going to have like a very easy time just popping through this. But you want to buy even more time, get a pick, slow them down, spam, whatever, get that damage at the inner door. So that's something your demo could do is like have the trap there. Down here, you could potentially trap inside here as well. But that's a universal principle that's going to apply. Like, for example, if I'm trapping like the exit of lobby, might have been better if I could trap in here or like in here or in there, or, the deeper you can get the traps, the better usually. 1 second. All right. So a common, way to play this is, especially on like a big disad holding mid, a lot of medics like to leave kitchen. Kitchen's a strong spot to leave because you're a little bit closer to people that are forward trying to spam and to like spot. Whereas if your heals were like already at these exits, anyone who's like in the mid range is unhealable. So it's a lot harder for them to like get the support that they need to, get the force or whatever. So Medic leaving kitchen can be really good if you're expecting the other team to like Uber into mid. You don't want to overuse it. For example, a time I wouldn't leave my medic kitchen is if we're like 80% or something. Then there's a chance we can stay in on the mid, you know, if we um if we just sort of like are careful and, you know, kite properly, because we may want to repush immediately, or if we already have a pick and their push is kind of like slower, we may not want to play there. But this is a really good spot if it's like, you know, that the instant that they show themselves, you're just going to leave. Yeah. So a lot of times I'm going to have my scout like here, soldier here, flank scout spotting here, early, roamer on like the rooftop. Another good spot for this soldier is like getting spam into saw right here. This damage really adds up because you're going to be hitting the medic and their demo, and that's going to slow them down a lot. It's hard for them to like counter spam you too, because the moment you see them looking at you, you can just disengage and break the sight line. Yeah. And then your demo usually is just going to play, you know, kind of central, or he can play kind of far back, just making sure that he has traps and he can spam pipes. The important thing about spotting them early is just you always want pipe spam going into these doors. Like, they should never be able to just appear through a door unspammed. That's why it's really important to emphasize like spotting deep. All right, so let's say you're trying to break second. What are your options here? If you're in a stalemate, trying to push second, obviously you can, you know, you can do a lot of bombs and sacks out of window. You can dry push yard, but let's talk about like some options near saw first. So here, a lot of times you have some space. There's some like room over here that you can jump people into. What usually I want to happen in something like this is that my combo is going to sort of like pressure this, start zoning it out, trapping up stuff, creating like just a little bit of control over this area, spamming people off the height here. And once you've spammed them a little bit here with your stickies and, you know, your scouts like bullying them a bit, then your soldier can kind of like send it through here. You wouldn't want to usually just blind send it, because it's more often going to be your soldier just going to get denied. So a lot of times you want to try and bully them a bit and take a little bit of space. You can use that as like a diversion. So there's a lot of mix-ups you can do. Like your combo can pressure saw, and then your soldier jumps out window, or your combo can pressure saw and Z, and then your soldier could jump in there, or you could have one of your soldiers like jump over here to distract, and then you guys like send your other soldier behind them and counter jump. You know, you could send your combo to pressure lower, to draw eyes here, clear stickies off window, and then your soldier can bomb out of window or something. Or, you know, you guys really pressure your combo hard towards yard to draw their attention here. You can shoot the guy off pipe from here, and then your flank commits through saw. You could like pressure yard and then get your flank scout to run underpass. You know, play some mind games with them here. This can be a really good spot to like threaten, because if you show yourself running into underpass, but then you like, you know, double back, they're going to see you going in there, and then they're going to start like backing up, you know, they're going to start conceding ground. So mind games like that can be really good to like fake things out. Like, or you go into, you know, you come through saw and you get someone in here, and now they start sending people back here to like hunt you, but then you recommit from this side and you like bomb from there, or you dive out through here. So those are ways to like make a little bit more space instead of just like committing into their full setup. One thing I would kind of caution you guys against is a lot of soldiers like to just high bomb off this and land on bats. That strat, it's a useful thing, but I think it's overused, and it shouldn't just be like a default. Because if you just do that off of nothing, like they're just gonna come back and kill you. And some scouts, like I would just sit here sometimes and just wait to deny that bomb. So it can work, but I would say you wanna use that bomb when you know that the other team is like trying to fight more mid-range, because then you're actually landing behind them and landing above them. But if they're sitting back passive, it's kind of just a feed to bomb like that. So just be careful about using that bomb. And you want to use it more like sparingly or strategically. Yeah. Let's see. What other scenario do I want to talk about here? For push a second. Oh, a general principle whenever you're choosing a route to push or to chase is you want to consider two very important factors. One of them is where did their demo retreat? If their demo retreated lower, I by default may just avoid going lower and just go saw because I don't want to have to deal with the sticky traps. Another important principle is spawners. If they got spawners, I may not want to risk pushing lower because there could be a sniper just hard scoped in here, or there could be a dude lurking in there to shoot us in the back. There could be a heavy, a pyro, anything like that. So a lot of times if I'm choosing my chasing route, it's going to be based on those two things. Where can I avoid their forward spawners and where can I avoid their demo? So that a lot of times just makes it really obvious where you should chase. I would say if I'm trying to choose a route here as well, saw is more of a like hard commit. So if I'm just going to pop through, a lot of times I'm just going to go saw because it's going to be the closest route that I can get to them. I can sort of surprise them around the corner sometimes, and we can get a lot deeper. If I'm trying to milk, I'm trying to take it slow, trying to dry push, that's when I might go yard. It's going to be a little bit more open. You're going to have a little bit more vision, and you're going to be able to sort of bait their bombs a little bit more and take it like carefully up towards the point. It would be a lot harder to pop down here and catch people than it would, comparatively going through saw. So those would be sort of factors to consider when you're trying to dry push. Other factors to consider is like what classes do you have? If your soldier's trying to be in an Uber, it's probably better to go saw because this is just too far away for a soldier to do as much. It's too open. Whereas going saw, your soldier's going to be able to land right on top of them. And it's going to be a little bit more confined. A really strong Uber here with ad is, to just sort of like, if you can, get up to this corner and pop here and just chase all the way up bridge because you're going to catch people that are like sitting here. You're also going to catch people that are on bats potentially in the retreat if you're fast enough. Because a lot of people are going to be too slow to retreat. And if they try to cross to escape here, you can also catch them. So that can be really effective. And sometimes you'll just like get up here and their demo is like too slow to retreat. And you can catch him as he's trying to get out through these areas. So that can be really strong. If you're pushing through yard here, one thing that's important to kind of have a default on is like, which door are you going to push? Because I've seen these pushes go wrong because like your demo wants to go here, but then your scout wants to go here. If you guys split up like that, it's going to be very difficult because your med is not going to be able to heal both of you. So just be aware of that. Personally, I like to come to this door if I'm really trying to like pressure and trying to like draw eyes. Whereas if I'm trying to like take space and walk in for free, I usually like to come through this door. But if I expect that we're going to get spammed, this door I don't like as much for a couple reasons. For one, if you get like spammed and you're really weak, when you start retreating, you have to retreat into another spam sightline. You're further away from the health pack and all that. Whereas if you just like initiate spamming from this spot, your retreat is a lot faster to get out and you're right next to the health pack. So for me, this is more of a dry push entrance, maybe a distraction entrance, whereas this is more of like a hard pressure entrance. So just be aware of that. Another good habit is whenever you're coming through here, just putting rockets or stickies, just deading on all these doorways because these get trapped a lot. If you are going to take yard, you just want to be careful about overextending. Just be aware of your medic's like spacing. A lot of times your medic is going to want to be careful to like not get too close. So he's going to be a lot of times kind of back here in these like kind of peripheral areas. Whereas your scout really wants to pressure up towards the point and stuff. Well, there's going to be a gap here with no heals and you might die. So your scout just wants to be careful about managing their health, being careful about how they approach this, being aware of like these sight lines. Like if your scout goes around this corner, he's not healable. If your scout comes up here and goes around this corner, he's not healable. So just being aware of those sorts of things. So a lot of times you might want to like take this more wide so you're more healable by your medic. And it's also going to allow your demo to like support you more like in the open, hitting people off these spots. This spot can be effective to like shoot people in the back, but it's also, you know, low ground. So this can be a little bit of a danger zone right around here, but sometimes it's a necessary spot to like put some pressure out. This could be like your flank scout or your pocket soldier could potentially come here and like put a rocket up on them or bait people into this position. A lot of times you're going to find yourself in an exchange on the point. Be decisive if you're going to take it. And just like pop like before you get up here. Force flashes. A lot of times you can pounce on people that are over here during an exchange and get those kills. If they start retreating, that's when bombing bats is super good as well. Because they have to retreat here and then move towards the exit. So if you ever find them in that retreat pattern, it's super predictable because they have to funnel towards this tiny little door. So your demo can get stickies on that. Your soldiers can be bombing that. You guys can just really punish them if they try to retreat that way. So a lot of times their retreat is going to have to be like more through lower or potentially up bridge instead, for them to not, you know, lose. Yeah, so then let's say that you guys take second. How do you push last? A lot of times off momentum, one of the best routes is straight lower because you just get through lobby really fast and you can just be in and like Ubering in straight towards the point. It's also the least common to be trapped of any entrance. And it's also, you know, if teams aren't very well composed with their roles, they might not be spotting it. So you just save so much time just immediately off of 2 picks or something. If you're trying to go, just flood through lower, or off of like massive Uber ad, just go straight lower. It saves you so much time and it's just so much more streamlined than like going up in here and like hiding in lobby, getting spammed on the cross, getting spotted, trying to walk in, you know, having to avoid snipers. It's just, it gets you in immediately and you can go straight to the point. If you do take lower Ubers, just call what side you're ending. That should be a general principle for any Uber, is call where you want to end the Uber. Generally, on any last Uber, you don't want to end in the low ground. It's very, very common for people to kind of like end their Uber down here, but ideally you're going to end on an upper section, either left or right, and you're also going to have an escape route. Because if you end like just here, you can't really get out very easily, and you also can't really like punish people. They roll out like a heavy or something or soldiers up here, like you're just losing that fight. Personally, I find the left side to be a much stronger position to hold because you have this truck, which gives you a lot more control over the spawn. You have the tower, which gives you cover if needed for the retreat. You have a little more access to this health pack, and just you have in general just more height over everything. So I personally really like ending on the left. You also have, you know, a fairly easy time baiting them towards this like little gap here. So it can be a pretty strong spot for like a post Uber. But obviously right is available as well. It's just a little bit more barren. It's kind of just flat ground. So if they roll out a heavy over here, they're just going to be mowing you down. You don't have that much cover. And then you kind of have to filter through this small shutter door. So I don't like as much the right side for ending. I prefer to collapse on the right if they're sitting here because, you know, everything I just described is going to play against them instead. But if you have to, it's not a horrible spot to end. It's just you're going to need stickies on the door a lot more often because your soldiers aren't really going to be able to hold that. Whereas if you have soldiers on this truck or on this tower, they're going to be able to spam that door a lot better. Okay, so let's talk about, for a second, breaking last, or like breaking stalemates into last. So one thing, you know, again, lower can be a really safe way to enter lobby, so you're not getting sniped or dying to traps as much. You know, some demos will trap it, so you should always be rocketing this or air deading stickies on this and just checking it. But often the most you're going to run into is like a roamer down here spamming this. So it's usually fairly easy to get into lobby. So you can get through lobby through lower and then take lobby from here. Be aware of snipers, you know, watching this or watching this. That's why lower is a lot of times the best way to enter. Once you have lobby, I think it's important just to like spot into last. I like to do this like jump spot thing where I check if there's a sniper there. You can open the shutter to check for sentry guns. I like drop down a lot for info, and you can peek like this, you can peek like that a lot of times, and it's fairly safe. So you always want to collect info before any push, any sack. You want to know where the sentry is, you want to know where the off classes are, you want to know where their medic is, etc. So always want to collect info first. A couple of strats for sacking into last. Sometimes teams will hold like just close right. Their demo will be trapping this. So it can be valid to just sack into the demo space and try and get the demo, get the med, because they're just going to be super close. So the way you would set that up is your demo wants to air det stickies on this to move stickies off of it. You're going to send a skip jump like through this door. You might have your combo like pressure it a little bit and then send your sack like through. Or if, you know, that's drawing too much spam, you send your sack and then your combo pressures behind it. See if you can support that and get a pick, get a force, whatever. That can be a two-man. Your soldier skipping in and then your scout going behind. Another strat could be to go for kills on the right. A lot of teams are going to put their heals on the left. So if they have anyone here on the right, from your offensive perspective, they may be somewhat isolated. So like if a soldier's here, you might be able to pounce on this guy, get this kill, and then you can start like getting people in like over here. And that's going to really draw eyes from the defense like away from this choke. So they start having to like turn over there. Sometimes you can even sneak in through this way, because I find that drop down is probably the least held entrance in terms of like you eat a rocket the moment you get in. So a lot of times you can get in like this and like your flank scout can literally like start baiting the cap on even like a sack play or off of like a, you know, a pick or any chaos moment. Sometimes your flank scout can find that opening. Another good sack route is through lower. Usually you are going to run into a soldier, but this guy is also potentially isolated. So this can be another kill that you guys try to like use heals and just like rush and kill this guy. But lower's a really good sack spot because your soldier can come lower and high bomb off this back wall. So that can be really good. Your scout can also like just come up here and start running at people from here. Can potentially, you know, hug this right lane and sneak up towards the point. Or, you know, you can flank people over here. But sacking into last on this map, it is fairly difficult. Sometimes you just got to go for it. This is a good sniper last. You can run a sniper. You know, you can start looking for snipes over here. You can start looking for snipes lower. Any of these doors are good for sniping. If you force them towards the front, sometimes your sniper can open the shutter and get a shot on people that are here. That can be pretty good. You know, just rotating your sniper around a lot and just taking what shots you can. You can also use the sniper to your advantage to like force them into a forward position, and then you run a sack, because the left sack is going to be way more effective potentially if they're like just sitting back here, or the lower sack might be more effective because you can just jump into them right here as well. So sometimes you can use the sniper to force them into a forward position that makes it easier to sack into their face. Next thing that's going to be important to talk about is the sentry gun. So it can be fairly difficult to destroy sentry on this last. Obviously, if it's like here on the mound, it's not so difficult because you can spam it from drop down and shutter. That's pretty easy. But the sentry that you guys should be aware of is this one right here, kind of in the center, because you kind of have to peek pretty deep to get it. So your options for destroying a sentry here are going to be a couple things. By default, you should start by trying sort of just a double soldier spam. It's very common to try to take your soldiers lower and just synchronize your timing to peek and destroy it. But this can be kind of deadly if they juggle you with their soldier here, because then you just get pinned by the sentry or killed by the soldier. So that's something to be aware of. But sometimes it can just be that simple if your coordination is good enough. I like to try and do it as a surprise, meaning like we're not sitting here like showing that we're here. We try to do it all in one fell swoop. Like before we show that we're going to spam the sentry, we're sort of breaking line of sight, and then we approach, and then we spam, and then we're out. We're not just like standing around here, drawing all the attention here, and then we try to spam it, because we're going to meet way more resistance if we do that. So you want to try and have these things be a lot more like, yeah, just smooth in terms of execution. Like you start from the back, you move to the position, and you spam. You don't like poke and show yourself and then spam. So there's a lot of different angles, you know, you can spam from. You can spam from the shutter, like sometimes you can get rockets like just past it right there. You can send both soldiers like to drop down potentially, double spam there. Those are like kind of the default double spams. I actually think the secret to beating this sentry is the top left. because the sentry does not reach over here. And another strat that I'll show you guys that you could try is the tower also breaks the sight line. So this is kind of a little bit of a riskier play, but an effective one, which is that your soldier can jump through on the left. And the moment you get here, you're out of the sightline of the sentry. Up here, you're also out of the sightline of the sentry. So you can literally bomb the NG from here. And it's like, if you're getting denied by the sentry, you might as well try something else. So this is sort of like a gamble, or it's like a very, bold play, but it actually has a fairly decent chance of succeeding because, you just are being a little bit more direct with how you commit to destroying the sentry gun. So, and if you can take space over here, your demo can destroy the sentry. I think demo is actually better at destroying the sentry than soldiers, if I'm being honest. Because if your demo, like, peeks this, shoots a sticky and a pipe at the sentry, it goes down in, like, an instant. The only problem is that your demo is not really worth risking losing by default. It's like a super effective strat, but it's risky. If you guys can protect your demo enough for him to destroy it, then go for it. But your default should be that you try getting it with your soldiers first, because your soldiers are going to be a little bit more expendable here compared to your demo. So like, I wouldn't want my demo to just like try and, do this by default. Obviously, that will destroy the sentry gun, and it will be very effective at doing so. But if my demo gets sniped or he gets bombed or, they sink stickies on him or there's a trap, like, he's going to die. And I don't really want to risk losing my demo right away. Can my demo come here and destroy this sentry like easily right here? Yeah, he can. Could he do it right here? Yeah, he can. But he might get sniped. And I don't really want to lose my demo by default. So that's just something to keep in mind. If all else fails, spy is actually quite good here. You can run 3-man sacks with a spy. Your spy saps the sentry gun, and then you guys sack in while the sentry is going down off your spy. Or, your spy can look for a backstab over here. As mentioned, the tower can cover you. You can get the demo or med. You could backstab the entry potentially and then sap that. You could, maybe it wouldn't work, but, depending on where the sentry is, you could bait some cap time and then distract off that and people sack. So spy is a pretty good option to bust out if you are just getting brick-walled by a sentry gun. If all else fails, you can run 4-man sacks into last, 5-man sacks, anything to just like not run the entire clock down and you just lose. Because if you do send a 4-man, the sentry can't shoot everyone, right? Maybe you sack your demo like into the skybox and he shoots the sentry gun so that it goes down and then your soldiers get in for free. Something like that could work. And then you can also run an Uber exchange. You can run an Uber exchange through lower. A lot of teams end up doing this when they run out of time. Like they wasted, 3.5 minutes trying to sack and destroy the sentry and just nothing is working. They don't get a meaningful advantage. So they just run an Uber exchange through lower. The Uber exchange lower, it's a huge gamble, but priority number one, you got to destroy the sentry. If you can, you always want to try and kill the engineer as well if he's overextended. Hunt for any kills that are in. Then you probably, again, want to end on like a decent position and try to, you can cycle back out through lower, then repush from upper through lobby or something. But at that point, when you're in an exchange, it's pretty rough. It's going to be hard to win no matter what. Let me give you guys a couple like default Ubers into last, okay? So the most common Uber into last is going to be through Shutter. That's where most people go. The reason that people do this is because it's the most direct route to destroying the sentry gun. It's also fairly close. So step number one, when you're in lobby, you want to like be locking things down. You don't want people to be able to like peek into here. Next step, your demo wants to put a sticky right there. The moment your scout opens the door, your demo is going to det that sticky. Because some demos are going to be doing like this. They're going to be trapping this to juggle you. And so your demo wants to pre-sticky the door just in case so that you're not going to have your entire Uber get ruined by a sticky trap, okay? That should just be the default. You sticky this, you pop through on your scout, your demo follows in after. Your scout hunts for anyone close. Soldiers will hide here, they'll hide there, they'll sit here. Those guys, your scout is going to hunt. Because if you can get a kill off that, you want to do it. Your demo is going to destroy the sentry, wherever it is. It may be in any of these kinds of spots. You know, it may be over there. It may be in some oddball spot, like down here. Your demo goes straight for the sentry gun. Then you guys need to decide if you're going to cross or you're going to stay here. I think that it can actually be quite good to stay on the right side. Your demo is going to trap out the spawn and then trap off the point a little bit, like this. Your scout is going to bait the cap, which often is going to look like you come through here. Beware of stickies, by the way, like in this bush and all around here. But all you need to do is just sort of like drive by the point or like edge the cap and then get off the point. Their soldiers will bomb you. You kill the soldiers. Your flank comes in while you're baiting the cap, and you just recap from there. That's kind of the default push. So what that might look like is demo, scout, medic, in on the Uber. Pocket soldier maybe like trailing behind. He could come in through drop down, or he could follow in through shutter, and then he could be ready to like counter jump the point. Your flank could be ready to come in left when the point starts getting baited. They flood in. Very important here regarding getting in top left. I think it's best if your roamer just like busts through the door, just like skip jump in. Because if you guys try to waddle both of you through the door, a lot of times they're going to be pre-firing this with rockets. So you guys are going to lose a lot of health if you both try to like waddle through the door. So I like when any soldier that's getting in top left just does a skip jump and just busts. That way it's going to draw eyes off the door and it's going to get your scout in clean, and then your soldier can just counter jump from there or whatever. But if you guys already got kills or whatever, maybe they can't afford to stuff this door, so you might be able to waddle in then. But if they're 6 up, I would expect that you're going to meet some resistance. And then you just get in once the point's being baited, and you sort of like collapse on them around the point and on the left side. Another option could be that your flank scout trails the Uber. So then your combo scout can be a little bit more aggressive with like hunting people sort of like at this edge of the point. Your flank scout is the one that's coming in, and he's the one that's capping. And that can work really well as well. An idea that I've been playing around with is like 6-manning left. I think left is a very underrated way to Uber into last. Because for one, if your demo just insta-bombs this, a lot of times you're going to catch someone at this spawn door. Because a lot of times like a sniper is going to be here, or a scout is going to be like building on the truck, or their med's going to be like too close here. So if you bomb in instantly on the left side, a lot of times you can catch people here. And as I mentioned before, this is really strong post-Uber positioning to have control over the left side because you have so much access to the high ground. It can be a little bit of a nightmare sometimes for people to get in to this last through the drop down or through the shutter or through lower, just because the sniper sight lines, like it's so common for a sniper to just sit there and snipe you. That's why, by the way, it's important for your demo, if you're coming in on the right, for him to like lock that out, because that sniper will prevent your pocket soldier from getting in. But that's why I've been playing around with the idea of like 6-man Ubering one side, because that way you guarantee that no one's just like getting stuffed on the flank. You could do like a 5-1 split as well, where you send 5 on one side and 1 on the other, just for like a late pinch. Like maybe your roamer comes in on the right late, something like that. But the left side Uber is actually quite good, mainly just because you can get your demo here. From here, you can still destroy the sentry gun fairly easily, and then you can trap off the point. And then you still have this nice high ground position with good cover to try and control the point from. And then you also have access to the high bomb off of here, jumps off the tower, etc. So you have really good late collapse potential from the left side. I think one of the biggest things, though, on this last is just your scouts need to bait the cap, and they need to not die for the cap. It's so tempting as a scout to just like tuck yourself in this corner, but you really don't want to be dying for this. Every once in a while, you're like, you know what? They're not even fighting me. I'm just going to fucking cap it. But if you find that you're getting bombed and you're dying for this, you want to try and reduce the amount of committing that you're doing. Just play for the bait and then reset, and then you can repush it, you know, edge the cap more once you've denied their intercept. As mentioned, lower Ubers can be good. Just important that you choose what side you're going. You know, you can choose it before you go in, or you can just say, you know what, we're just going to go to this side. And you just pop in here. A lot of times you can catch people in the shutters from the lower Uber because they're also going to be sort of like mid-range, and they're not going to be expecting that Uber to come in straight lower. Yeah, so I think those are some good Ubers for last. Do you guys have any questions about last pushes? All right, if there's no questions for that, um, we can sort of flip this around and talk about like defending last. So sentry gun is kind of mandatory when you're on defense. If you're ever at like big disad, I like to throw a sentry like here, or you can throw it like closer to the point, or you can throw it in some weird spots if you have time, like on the point. You could hide it over here. Just be aware that the further you are from spawn, the more dangerous it is, because you might not be able to repair the sentry or upgrade it without getting caught. One of my favorite sentry guns is right here, because this is going to deny their flank from getting in. It's not immediately visible to their combo if they Uber shutter, and it covers the entirety of point. So I really like this sentry gun spot. Otherwise, you know, you can just put it like here. And if you have the time, you can throw it like, you know, in weird spots like this, or like this, or like this. I've done all of these just to mix it up, keep the other team on their toes, so it's not just like textbook every hold that they can just Uber in and find the sentry in the same spot every time. One thing to consider on a last hold is putting a sentry on one side and then putting something, you know, important on the other side. So they have to make a choice. If the sentry is there and your medic is on the other side, that makes sense. Because now they go for your sentry and then your medic has more time to like kite and survive. It doesn't make a lot of sense to stack everyone next to the sentry gun because it draws too much attention and they get too much value from fighting this side with their Uber. So you usually want to have the sentry sort of on the opposite side of your hold, if possible. There are exceptions to that. You know, if you're running a pyro and he's defending the sentry, then you might have your combo there with him. And maybe on certain maps, it's okay to be near the sentry, but a general principle is the sentry is a throwaway and it's just there to buy time for you guys to rotate, so you want it on the opposite side. Another really strong setup is sentry on one side, heavy on another. So for example, you might put the sentry on the right and then a heavy on the left. Now, if they Uber in through shutter, they're going to be tempted to shoot the heavy, but that means they're not going to shoot the sentry immediately. And while they're shooting the sentry, your heavy now with 450 is taking space. You know, things like that are really, really strong. Another option, this is a setup that I've been considering trying to run. Sentry gun, like passive, sort of like this, and then a sniper like next to the sentry. That's going to make them have to really look over here like extra long, and your sniper is going to be able to like hit the people that are stalled out by the sentry that are like coming in behind the Uber. So that can be really strong too. So just sort of thinking about ways that you can synergize your holds, you know? Say you have their sentry on the left, maybe you want a sniper on the right so that if they do push right, they have to pop, or if they push lower, they have to pop, you know? Because the sentry won't force them unless they come shutter. So sniper on the right can be really good with the sentry on the left, you know, things like that. Your demo on last should be by default, you know, on disad trapping the point. As I mentioned, this spot's really good for hiding stickies. You can also hide stickies in like these lamps on the back. A lot of people like to tuck into these corners, so it can be good to just put like a sticky there. But a good spread of stickies might look, you know, something like this. Something like that is usually gonna do the job. Some demos will like trap the top. This could be pretty good too. you know, something like this could work pretty well as well. A pretty good sticky trap on this last is this crate. I really like when my demo comes out the left side because shooting through this gap really helps for intercepting the point compared to the other side. Your demo is basically not going to be able to block the cap for much longer. So one way that you can set that up is having your demo trapping like this a little bit, plus some stickies on the point. And then what this is going to do is allow your demo to have a better chance of retaking the side. And what you can do is you can hide in the spawn. This is one-way glass on the spawn door, right? So they won't be able to see that you're in here, and you can just watch the trap, and you can hide yourself. Because if you're right here, they're going to want to push you and lock you in the spawn, right? But if you don't show yourself, you can just sit here, wait till they rotate off, and then come out late. And then you're just ready to go to defend the point from there. So that can be really good. As for your soldiers on a last hold, there's some default positioning that I think is fairly important. Your roamer or a soldier needs to spot this because this is such a deadly route for them to get in unspotted that sometimes they'll like get all the way to here before Ubering if you just concede lower. So by default, you need a soldier spotting lower. Everything else you can sort of like, you know, assume that they're going to push it, or you can have a sentry or, you know, sniper watching it. But the lower spot early is like mandatory. Your roamer just really needs to drill this into their positioning. Like they have to spot this. If your roamer's dead, your pocket should spot it. It just cannot be unspotted because you will lose rounds off that. If you have the chance, you know, before they take lobby, it's good for a soldier to spot, you know, into lobby, like here or something, just so you get a sense for when their push is approaching. You know, maybe you see them charging here, and that can be some good info. A good setup that I like is for my pocket to, well, there's two things my pocket can potentially do. They can sit next to the medic and have 300 so that they're ready to just like jump wherever, you know, or they can be hiding. Anything that they can do to just like not be in spawn is basically what I want. So I don't want my pocket like taking a ton of damage, peeking, and then having to jump back into spawn because they need to be ready to like intercept the point. So some good hiding spots for a soldier are like right here, because especially if they like destroy your sentry there and then like start going to the point, you're just going to be able to shoot people in the back right here. The spool, you know, can be a good spot. This can also be a good spot for juggling. Like if they Uber their scout and then their demo is like behind the Uber, you can a lot of times like juggle the demo, or you can just wait here till like the soldier trails the Uber and just shoot the shutter door. The pipe is similar. You might have an easier time jumping away if you go to the pipe. And sometimes you can like pull a scout on a wild goose chase because you just like get back here and then, you know, you're safe and he can't catch you. Yeah, another way you can play this is your pocket can be just like ready to deny their flank. So he could just be sitting here, say the Uber in there, and just like pre-firing them right there. And then from on top of here, you can also drop pretty good rockets on people that are on the point. So this can be a pretty strong position to sort of wait out an Uber because you can kind of like just hide up here a little bit, you know, and then if their Uber tries to go to the point, you can shoot them there. You just got to be aware that if you neglect this door too long, they might come into you. If you are using the sentry gun right here, it's very good for this soldier to like prevent people from peeking this to destroy the sentry. So that's when you might want to play a little bit more forward. You could also, you know, use spots like this to wait so you can bomb, or I've seen soldiers, you know, wait here. This is a little bit more of a gamble though, a reaction time test, so, and you're going to take more self damage, so it's a little dangerous. I guess another important just principle for your soldiers is like I mentioned, your scouts want to bait the cap. That's a lot of times what their scouts are going to do. So if say you're going to intercept the point and you're going to bomb it, you don't want to like contest the point by like doing this because you're going to die for that. They're going to bait you there. The scout's going to get reflashed. You're going to take a fuckload of self damage. If you can avoid doing that, then you should. Like if they're weak as fuck or something, then yeah, okay, it might make sense. But if it's a 185 scout on the point, you're gonna struggle to like actually get that kill, and it's not worth you dying for if you can avoid it. So you want to look for more like fade bombs and stuff, like drop a rocket on him and live, because that guy's gonna get reflashed or he's gonna jump off the point. So all you need to do is just stall him a little bit. Or you want to land on good positioning, like land above him and shoot down at him, rather than like being right on top of the point and dying for that. So, you know, that might look a few different ways. Like maybe from here you jump and you put rockets in like that and you land on top, or, you know, things like that. As for your medic, assuming you get an early enough call where they're coming, your med should be relatively safe to like play kind of like central so you can be buffing people and then rotate as their Uber is called. Um, the right side can be a little bit dangerous if the top right is not being held, because they'll just have a really good collapse on you. So I think just the most important thing for you guys is to call what side you're rotating to. And there can be some mind games because, you know, sometimes they're going to Uber in, they're going to destroy the sentry, and then the demo's going to bomb across, right? So if that's happening, then you need to rotate back to the right, even though they Ubered in on that side. So you guys just need to respond to that quickly and rotate accordingly. Sometimes you'll take the left side late, and they'll take the right side. And then what's going to happen is they're going to try and like collapse on you over here because they're going to be doing the high bombs and stuff. So the best way for you guys to like intercept that is you don't want to just have everyone sit here, you know, trying to hit air shots and stuff. You really need to like counter jump them. So basically, if you have soldiers alive, like when their soldiers are bombing into you, hopefully you have like a heavy and you have stickies here, but like your soldiers need to be trying to like bomb into them to intercept their combo, you know, kill their demo med scouts, or like you need to be like threatening a flank so that they can't afford to go forward, you know, things like that. You don't really have any great high bomb spots from here, unfortunately. So you're kind of just forced to like do what bomb you can. Um, you could potentially also sort of like lurk the spawn and then wait till they try to push, and then you can bomb them from the back. So yeah, those are things that you can do. But everyone needs to like understand what their role is. Your demo's role is to trap the point. Your heavy's role is to kill, you know, soldiers that are bombing. Your scout's role is to try to pressure mid-range and kill the soldiers as well. And your soldier's role is to try to stall the other team or kill people that are holding W. Let's see. I guess, yeah, if you do have the sentry gun in the middle, say it's like even, and you have this sentry right here, just some like small notes about positioning. You don't want it to be visible to the shutter. So you want to tuck it away behind the shutter. Something like this would be perfect. If it's too like exposed here, it's going to be easy for them to spam. So a lot of times I'll just put it something like this. I like to face it this way because then it's going to instantly react to the drop down. You could also face it straight lower, but I find that drop down is a lot of times where like the sniper will wide swing or something. So it's important to have that be an instant reaction for the sentry. Important note, you never really want to die for your sentry. Like you can be, you know, repairing it, but if the spam is getting too hot, just back off, let the sentry go down and swap. You don't want to die for this. A really good dispenser spot I like is right here, because your soldier wants to play around here. He needs ammo. Your medic can use this as a armor as well. And it's just going to allow your team to be a little bit more centralized. It can be a sniper. This is a safe spot from the sniper shutter. Whereas here, your med might get sniped from shutter. So that's why I like sort of like anchoring my combo like at this spot instead. So with this sentry, the setup would be one soldier lower getting tanked by your medic. Demo man is usually going to have stickies on right. If you need to play like down here, you can. You can watch your traps like through this and just spam. The demo a lot of times gets too greedy. He'll like peek over here and he'll get rushed. So your demo just wants to be careful. You don't really want to be going beyond this line a lot of times as a demo, because their sniper might start peeking this, or they'll just sack into you. And if you end up like over here and they're sacking in, the sentry isn't covering you, so keep that in mind. So you have NG, medic, soldier, demo. Then you have your other soldier, usually playing like the left side. They can be spotting into drop down. They can be sitting on this metal fence. It's a really strong spot to spam. They could be kind of just sitting here, ready to intercept. And then your last player can play sniper or scout, probably. If you're going to snipe, you probably want your sniper to, I would say probably be, well, if your sniper's going to be on the left, you probably want heals here, which I think is a little bit dangerous sometimes. And it's sort of counterproductive. So I might have your sniper actually snipe maybe a little bit more further back so you can see more angles, kind of like this, if you're going to run a sniper. It is very strong to have a sniper come forward, but you do need heals. The sniper can kind of like make lobby uninhabitable for them. So this can be a really strong hold if you bring your heals and your demo and your medic over here to support your sniper. That can be really, really strong. This forward hold is mainly if they have a sniper, I would say. So that's what this looks like. All right, let's go talk about pushing out of last. So pushing out of last, one thing to be aware of is that the top right gets trapped a lot, gets spammed a lot. So if you start pushing out here, you should expect to meet a lot of resistance. It's going to be a little bit of a nightmare sometimes to get through here. So a lot of times I actually prefer that when I'm pushing out of last, if I'm on the left side, I come through shutter. If I'm central, I go lower. Sometimes even if I'm on the right, I'm going to drop lower because I can get through here way cleaner and I'm going to be less visible because their first contact with me is me peeking right here rather than them seeing me walking all the way up, you know? So this just eases the process of pushing out of last. It also allows you to sweep the flank a little bit, you know, things like that. So you're getting less back capped. So that's a big tip for pushing out is just don't default to top right every single time. Once you take lobby, you know, it's important to just pick what route you're going to go. This is often going to be a pop through just because the doors are so small and they're so commonly trapped. So if you are going to pop through here, pushing out, you know, it's okay to pop out bats. It's okay to pop out bridge. If you're trying to milk this, your best options are going to be, well, for one, if you can clear traps and you're sure that there's no one close, you can get through bridge and bats sometimes, but it's just a gamble. Z, though, is also uncommonly trapped, and a lot of times you can just force a flank player out and you can get your combo through. So this can be a pretty good wrap Uber, and it's really going to threaten them. Because if they're sitting like on the shed, your Uber is like getting close to them here, and you can potentially, you know, push them there. So that might scare them a lot. Lower is even a option to consider. So I think just not having one route where you always go. Like a lot of teams, their only Ubers through bats. And I think that every route can be Ubered out of or pushed out of on this. Lower can be a decent option because again, most teams aren't going to expect it, so they're not going to be prepared. So like their soldier's going to be up there and he's ready to spam this, but his rockets aren't going to do that much damage shooting down on you there. So sometimes you can just like get through here, especially if like their flank players are dead. They're usually going to be the guys watching lower, so you can like get through and you kind of get directly up to the point from here, or again, you can threaten a lower underpass push. But the important thing that your team needs to be aware of is just like wherever your combo is pushing, you should expect them to shove other doors. So if my combo is pushing upper, I need people spotting lower. Like by default, my roamer clears lower. My flank scout can support him potentially. My scout demo medic might be like pushing through a door, and then my pocket is supporting upper lobby. What is my pocket doing on this? Well, if we're popping through, he might just lurk in lobby and kind of just intercept anyone who tries to go past our Uber. If we're trying to take it for free, my pocket might need to like bust through for us. A really good jump that your pocket should be comfortable doing is jumping off this and then sliding off this ramp. Let me try and hit this for you. Because you just get in really fast. And you a lot of times can beat a sticky trap doing that. Because once you can get someone through this door and he can rocket off those stickies, now bats becomes like a really good option because of the height. But just because of the difficulty of like clearing traps and getting spammed here, it can be rough. But if your soldier does get through and you know their soldier that's on this fence now shoots at him and you clear the stickies, now getting through bats is a pretty good option. So that's a jump that your pocket can do. Similarly, you know, through lobby, your pocket could like get through Z. You can do skip jumps through there and like get towards Saw or something. There's a lot of skip jumps that you can do to bust through these doors. They may not be obvious, but you can do them if you set them up properly. Like through bridge here, you can like bomb through and get like over to here. Just stuff like that are things that your pocket can do. But what your pocket probably doesn't want to do is like stand in these doors getting spammed. Because you're just gonna eat so much fucking damage and then you're not gonna be able to like get through your team. So, you know, spamming off stickies, that can be valuable. And then just like threatening like a flank maybe to draw the people out of position, or just busting through the door, or just holding lobby behind your Uber. Because they might try to shove Z, they might try to go through bats, but having someone here to intercept is good. Okay. Once you take second, one of the most important things that you do is that you don't just sit on the point, because it's sort of a box. You're boxed in, and you don't really have great influence over the doors. So when Snakewater, like more than almost any other map, is they'll lose the round because they pushed out of last them, and like they lose on the push out of last more than they lose on any other part of the map. And the way that you can prevent that from happening more often is that if they've already gotten their spawners set up to deny a dry push rather than stacking the point. Stacking the point is only going to be relevant if you're denying like really important, you know, players, denying their med, denying their demo. You know, denying 2 players might be worth it. Denying, you know, both scouts, something like that, that might be worth it. But if you're denying like 1 player, like 1 scout or 1 soldier, you should expect that the other team is going to dry push if you're stacking the point. So to prevent that, here's the things that you need. You need someone spotting Saw, because if you just let them through here for free and they start like high bombing over your heads and you're all on the point and now they have their exit, you're fucked. So your soldiers by default are not stacking the point. They're getting in position to start like holding second, spotting Saw, getting ready to spam this, etc. Your demo man is preemptively trapping the doors, trapping the yard push, rather than stacking the point. Your scout, if you have 2 scouts alive, your scout is getting up on bats, getting ready for the dry push. Or, you know, maybe like forward on the shed to start like pressuring them a little at the doors. Your med could literally be the only one capping if, you know, you guys aren't needing to deny spawners or, you know, out cap a back cap or something like that. Like your med can be capping while people are in position, or one of your scouts can be capping while everyone else is in position. So that's a very important moment, is recapping second. The second hold, just in general, usually you're gonna have 1 soldier up here. This can be your pocket or your roamer. I like having my pocket here personally, but it can go either way. Because I just feel like your pocket is usually gonna be more of an info gatherer, and like he's gonna be the first contact, and then your roamer is gonna be the one who commits. So usually I like when my pocket is the first soldier that they see, and then my roamer is the soldier that they don't see. So that's sort of my setup preference. So my pocket might play this. You know, from here you can get good spam on any of these doors. Be careful about isolating yourself in here, because they can like shove you and try to kill you here. So it's perfectly fine to like, you know, if you're weak, catch an arrow up here or something like that. Or if you need to, you can just fall off, you know, concede it if need, and then retake it with a counter jump or something like that. Your roamer, you know, can be ready to spam lower, things like this. A really good sightline for your roamer, though, if they haven't pushed yet, is like down here, or for any soldier really. This is really good info. If like say they're capping mid and they have ad, you know, spotting this can be really, really good. I think that's a general principle here, as well as like spotting deep if you can. Because if you guys are all just sitting back, like your soldiers are here spamming, their Ubers are going to surprise you. So you really want your soldiers trying to spot as deep as possible here. Spot where they're coming from, you know, so you see them the whole way up, so you're not getting surprised. If you have Uber, you know, you guys are fine to usually play mid-range. Like, scout on this wall. You could have a scout just sit here the whole time to intercept bombers. All over the train, on the crates, whatever. Your demo, I like when my demo trap's lower. So usually my demo is going to be somewhere around here. It's going to have traps on lower. He can spam saw if needed. You know, you can be on top of the train too, watching these traps, or like on this back log right here, watching this. Be careful as the demo, like getting too aggressive, trying to like fight them in saw and stuff. You can trap it decently, but this is a little bit more of a box, you know? So if they come over here, you can contain them. Whereas if they dry push yard, it's hard to contain them. This is sort of an important theory that you guys should start thinking about, is like, what's a soldier spot and what's a demo spot? This is a box, it's flat, you have high ground, it's more contained. A soldier can hold this. Whereas this, it's open, it's far away. A soldier can't really hold this. In order to like have good influence over a door, a soldier needs to have like good height and be close to something. Having like corners to break it, you know, things like that is good. But you don't have any of that in yard. So anytime there's like a really open area, that's usually a demo spot. Because the demo can trap that from far away and he can spam it from far away. He doesn't have to risk being close and dying for it. So yard is a demo hold, whereas saw is a soldier hold. Hopefully that makes sense. So by default, my demo is trapping lower, and he's denying that, and our soldiers are denying saw. A lot of demos, they get in this bad habit. They're just trapping saw over and over, so the other team just always gets to dry push. So a lot of times I remind my demo, hey, trap yard, trap yard, trap yard, because if he doesn't do that, they're just going to take a lot of free space. Yeah, but when you're holding this, you know, you expect a sack out a window, you know, all the sorts of plays that I told you that they might go for, or you guys might use, they might go for that. You know, they might bomb into Z and then bomb out. You know, they might try to bully you off the pipe and then bomb past that. Just all those sorts of things. But you know, as long as you're not baiting your medic too close to them or your demo too close, you guys should be okay with, you know, having scouts on height, spotting what they're doing, and just being ready. Okay. Pushing mid. Well, I guess let me talk a little bit actually about holding second. Like if they're dry pushing, try to be decisive, because if you guys sort of just get bullied back and further and further and further, and they're just pushing yard, and you guys give up a lot of space and you start dropping players, things will go bad. This is one of the maps where teams will lose 3 players a lot and just lose the round off that, because it takes them too much to get the force. It can be very tempting to like send people behind and stuff into saw if they push yard, which can be a good play to like you know, intercept their yard push. But like if you're losing 2 people shoving the flank and then someone gets caught in the retreat or someone sacks into them to force, now you're down 3 effectively and they're just going to roll to last. So you got to be very, very mindful of like how many people are actually committing. And a lot of times I prefer to keep it to like 1, but maybe 2 at most. Like if my roamer is going to be bombing into them to get the force, I'm not losing my pocket and my flank scout as well. So just be very careful about that, because this is a last that they can just roll through if they have numbers. But yeah, if they are pushing towards point, like for example here, this is where again it's important to be decisive. Like, are you going to take the exchange and just fucking call for it and take the pop into yard? And what you want to try and do is keep them in yard if you can with the exchange, so that your team has a better collapse. You don't want to be like taking an exchange and then start retreating usually, unless it's like an absolutely horrible situation. You want to try and take the exchange and tie up the enemy team in a bad position by threatening to like rush down unflashed players, etc. Or at the very least, you want to stabilize on kind of like back to mid-range position with height and stuff. But yeah, if things start falling apart, like you're losing players, you're not getting the force, just leave, because it's not worth getting forced for nothing kind of in the mid-range and then get caught in your retreat and then they roll to last. Okay, so pushing mid. Similar principles. If you know it's trapped, you can avoid that door. A lot of times the fastest way to go from capping to mid is through lower. So this can be a streamlined way to push. If you're ever pushing through lower, it's somewhat mandatory that you have someone pressuring catwalk, because you don't want this soldier to just be able to spam down on you for free. So this may be your pocket soldier, maybe your flank players. If my combo is going saw, then my flank players are lower. If my combo is lower, then my flank players are saw. That's usually how it works. A really strong option for lower is to fake kitchen. They'll see you crossing, and that might pull them back to fight you in kitchen. And you might just commit through kitchen if you think it's free, but you can then double back, and then you'll find less resistance here. Because a lot of times they're going to be like here, they're going to see you guys coming up the slope, then they're going to see people going kitchen, they're going to like back up to this, and now they're not watching the slope. So that can be a good mind game push. This is a fairly good mid for popping through because you can catch people a lot of times. Any door is viable for popping through. Just be aware, if you pop through one door, they're probably going to shove something else. Say we're popping through saw, they might shove catwalk, they might shove kitchen. So just have people ready to intercept that. Like your pocket can just be lurking here, waiting for that. Your flank players can be sitting lower ready. That's generally how pushes should go if you're popping through, is that your combo is in, their players on the enemy team are going to start scrambling, everyone else is ready to intercept. You don't want a lot of people shoving in at the same time because that's going to create openings and potentially people dying during the Uber, which you don't really want. However, if you're pushing off picks, that's when your flank usually wants to get in first. Say we're trying to push saw off of like a soldier pick. I want someone in before my combo. Because I don't want my combo insta-giving. I want my flank dying in that case. So that my combo can, maintain the foundation of the team, basically. Yeah. If you're ever trying to push through here, watch out for traps on all these doors. I like to have my pocket sort of like jump into saw and clear all this shit. Your pocket can, jump through to spots like this, and you'll be relatively safe here. If they shoot at you, they're not shooting at your combo. You can spot where they are, and then just reset and live. If you do Uber into mid, try to kill anyone who's like shoving your flanks. If you're gonna chase, be careful about chasing too deep. Chasing into saw or all the way lower, because they might just bait you forward and then pounce on you, and then you just sort of stabilize from there. I think that's pretty much the whole map. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about any specific areas or situations?
Nobody. I think we're good.
Okay. Cool. If anything comes up, let me know. But that's probably it for now then. So,
All right.
Yeah, as I told you, I will be out of town for a week. So, I will be back